All right, here we are. It is 11 o'clock Wednesday. Thank you everyone for joining us here on the WomELLE face page. Let me tell you, I am your moderator, Margo, Lovett, and we are streaming, broadcasting live on the WomELLE Facebook page. WomELLE itself, we're here because they're hosting a Power of Women's Leadership virtual conference on October 20th and the 21st. Your ticket, it not only gives you access to the conference both days, but access to 30 thought leaders, speakers. We're talking about leadership. They're going to have live Q&As. They're going to have professional activities and networking, that all important networking. But for today, I have two panelists here, two ladies from the WomELLE cast. Let me introduce you to them. They are going to be speakers upon those days, the 20th and the 21st. I'm not sure about which day they own, but you can listen to what they have to say during the conference. Let me introduce first DrGail Hayes. She is an executive leadership coach. Dr. Hayes is the author of several books. She is a collaborator and a connector. She is a thought leader, founder and CEO of Handle Your Business Girl. And I also have Jeanette, Bronée. She is a nourishment expert, a coach, and author. She is an expert on why we need nourishment to perform better. She says the key to leadership, it really is nourishment. So we're up for a really good conversation today, ladies. Welcome. Thank you for being here this half hour, and let's get right to it. The first question that I have for you all is leadership in the world of business today in 2017. What does that look like?
Who do you want to ask first? Should we go in turns or?
Go ahead, Jeanette.
Go first. You go first.
All right. You know, what I see is that we have this pushing harder, more and more and more. And it's a very, for lack of a better word, it's a very male energy that we all have, right? We all have both female and male energy, but the energy of pushing. And the thing is, it's not working. It's not working because it just gives us more stress, and it doesn't allow us the sense of consideration, reflection, and things like inclusion of everyone. And so I believe that the leadership that we're looking for going forward is a lot more about mindfulness. It's a lot more about looking at the position of bringing people together. We've been very product focused in the past. I think we're becoming more and more people focused. Even though technology is taking over, I think we're going to see a lot more about the environment of people and people nourishment being a lot more important than leadership, which is why I feel that the nourishment and the innate quality of female leadership is that sense of we know what it means to be there for others. The point is, how do we be there in the right way so that we don't exhaust ourselves?
That's quite interesting. The nourishment of people. I was going to hold that question till the end, but will you take a moment and actually, what is your definition of nourishment? Because you're going to use that term again, I know, and I want everybody to have that in their mind and be able to feed off of that.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we think of nourishment just as food, but I think of it as beyond food. I think food and how we take care of ourselves is the foundation for how we can work better every day, feel better, have better energy, have better focus, better clarity, better mood. All of those things is about not only the food that we eat, but also how we take care of ourselves in general. It includes sleep. It includes, are we taking breaks? It includes all of our self-care. And I think of nourishment as a relationship with ourselves and what feeds us, which is everything from the relationships we have to the environment we're in. But the foundation is food, but it's so much more than just nutrition.
So we're talking about the total man. As a global leader, we really have to start looking at the total man versus just a product or an object or somebody who's expendable. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, I do think that we need to see that our real force, our real power is really our human resource.
Wow.
even if it's in a world of technology. Because what makes us thrive better as a company is not that we have a faster technology. It's part of what makes us interesting and good and so on and so forth. But really what holds it all together at the end of the day is still the relationships we have at work.
Wow. I like that. That is quite insightful. And I've heard that. I haven't heard it placed quite that way before. Thank you, Jeanette. Dr. Gail Hayes, let's hear your take on leadership. What does leadership look like to you in the business world, 2017?
I like what Jeanette said about the push, push, push. Because the push, push, push can be very feminine. You know, we push out our children when we're having babies. And you need power in order to push. So although it is a different energy, it is still necessary for us to push. Because let me give you an example. I meet many women who are in transition. And if they don't push past that, then they're going to stay right where they are. Sometimes it takes a power. Certainly it's a feminine push, but it's a push nevertheless. So, and she's correct in saying there's a masculine push and there's a feminine push. The problem comes in is when women try to mimic men. They think that's what works. But I think it was in 2011, if not my mistake, it was Forbes magazine took a survey of leadership, and they asked several hundred people, including men and women, who makes the best leaders. Hands down, even the men voted for the women. They wanted to work for a woman. And so when I saw the results, I asked myself, what's the difference? The difference is this: we're more collaborative. Because of that human factor, we are, like Jeanette said, we are nourishers. We nourish situations more readily than men do. Men wait till you're falling off the vine and drying up before they say anything. They say, well, who can pick this up? Wait. But we know instinctively how to water, how to nourish. I'm going to use her terminology since she and I are joint panelists. I really like the terminology because it makes sense. But we know instinctively. The problem comes up with when we don't use those gifts. When we put our picture away, our water picture away, and we choose not to help other women. For me, when I think about leadership in this day and age, it has to be collaborative. You have to collaborate and not be jealous. See, that's the problem with women. So many times we're afraid to open the door for other women because there's what I call the toxic C's, the letter C. Comparison leads to competition, which leads to corruption. I'll repeat that. Comparison leads to competition, which leads to corruption. When you compare yourself with another woman, you automatically begin to compete with her. And when you compete with her, it's usually not healthy competition, and there's a corruption or a breakdown in the relationship. So instead of us linking arms like men do and forming teams and going through doors or taking mountains, we stand at the door and we go in the door. One of us will get in the door and we'll lock the door behind us, and all the other women are standing out front. That's not always the way. But for the most part, until we learn that as women, that's the way it is. And so when I look at leadership in this day and age, I think of two things. I think of collaboration piece and I think of the legacy piece. Legacy is critical. It doesn't mean you get a younger girl. It doesn't always mean mentorship. Legacy can be you speaking or seeding to another woman, and then she's going to talk about you in a good way. So what she's done is called your name. Anytime somebody calls your name, they're helping to spread your message. That's a legacy. So for me, leadership is about being selfless enough to take care of self, but being generous enough to give something away to another woman that you see who needs it, and you don't believe it's taking away from you, because all she can do is push your name and what you're doing out there in a different way. So for me, leadership has to be critically collaborative, and it has to be a legacy piece.
Wow. I'm wondering, I'm listening to both of you ladies, and it all comes back, for myself, it comes back to this thing of synergy and energy and what we are putting out with our colleagues, what we're putting out with the energy source that we're putting out with our clients. How do we keep our level of energy up so that it does not become toxic? Do you ladies do you still have to work on that on a daily basis, or how do you operate in that realm so that you are not toxic?
Jeanette, go first.
Okay, so if we don't eat well and we don't get our sleep, The B comes before the C, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer collaborative. We're under stress. We're under pressure. We don't feel good. So I do believe that if we can see our self-care, our food and all that as the foundation for us feeling better every single day, so we can be more available, so that we can not put out that toxic fast
energy,
fast, those things that just fly out, where we actually have the emotional and the mental space, and you can also call it emotional intelligence, to really go, wait a minute, let me just reflect on this. But if we're high on sugar or low after a glass of wine last night, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a glass of wine, but it depends how and how much and when.
That's good to hear.
On top of but it's this sense of we tend to eat and take care of ourselves in a way where we're fixing or numbing the pain, rather than looking at what do we want to obtain from how we take care of ourselves and how we eat. Oh, wait, I want to feel better. I want to perform better. I want to have more energy. I want to be more available. I want to have a better, more balanced mood. And all of those things is how nourishment becomes part of the toolkit that we have every day to really master how we feel. And when we can master how we feel, we become better leaders. We become more available. We have that space inside of us to really pause for a moment, just reflect, okay, what just happened here? Let me act upon it instead of react. And you had the 3 C's, Dr. Gail. I have the 3 A's.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge what's going on around us. We have to accept what it is we feel, and then we can create or choose an action. So that's that piece of us becoming more, we acknowledge what's going on, we accept what's going on, and then we act. And that's that awareness piece that makes us a lot more mindful in our everyday. We can't do that if we're not getting our sleep, and if we're eating poorly, and if we're dehydrated, because we go into stress mode when we're not eating well. If we don't eat all day and our blood sugar is low, we get anxious, we get distracted. All of those things affect our capability to really stay centered.
That's powerful information. That really is. That is powerful insight. What I hear both of you ladies saying is this thing of leadership, how we relate to others, it does begin with us.
Yes.
It begins with us. Leadership versus boss. That's the next question. Is there a difference? Dr. Gail?
Thank you. Yes, for me it is, because I've been both. I've been a boss and I've been a leader, and there is a distinct difference. Bosses tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. A leader will use something that I call, and it's old school, it's called the competency spiral. The competency spiral came out, I think, in the 90s. Well, it may have been in the 80s, but I remember using it in the 90s, which is exactly what I've talked about, the collaboration piece. You have people who work for you, and what you do is empower them. You give them your job. That frees you up to get in the higher up spaces to get a new project. In other words, they can't take anything from you. All they can do is elevate you. And when you do that, you create empowered people working for you, because they see that you value them. They believe that you trust them, and you have given them something to do that is above what they are, their station, so to speak. That means you trust and you value them, and that goes a long way. Bosses tell you exactly what to do. They oversee what you're doing, and that's it for them. But leaders don't mind giving their jobs away, because they know the only thing you can do is push them up. They understand that all you can do is elevate them to a space where their platform is expanded. And leaders don't always have to. Okay, here's the thing. Leaders are usually entrepreneurs. If they work for a company, they're using the entrepreneurial spirit inside of that corporation and company. They're usually the ones who have creative ideas, because they've empowered their people to make sure the work gets done. And even if they leave and they go somewhere, the work is still getting done. They reward their people for doing it. They've elevated the mindset of the people, and their department flourishes. But you have to have a healthy mindset to do that. If you don't feel good about yourself, if you are, and look, the problem, like I said, I go back to women being envious and jealous and not being able to see the big picture. You see, men do this all the time. They understand the team concept. And so what happens is, if you do not understand the team concept and realize they can't remove you as a team member, and if you have a person, I had a woman say to me, well, I've tried that, but that team member I empowered went over my head. And I said to her, how did they go over your head when you should have been in there first? Because if you had empowered her and given her enough to do, you should have been in there with that manager or that director and saying, listen, I have done this and this and this with this person. I'm training them. So if they come to you, could we have an agreement that you're going to send them back to me? You see, you have to know how to leverage those kinds of situations. Because when you just give them something to do and you don't elevate yourself and be bold enough to go to the next level and stand in that space, you get there before they do and say, this is what I've done. I am helping them to learn this, this, and this, which is going to help our own team and attribute to the mission. What else would you like for me and my team to do? You see? So what happens is women don't generally think that way. See, I used to work with men. I was the first African-American female law enforcement officer in Chapel Hill, and I was also a female firefighter. So I worked with men, and I was raised by a military father. So I understand, see, men are mission focused, women are relational. We want to work with people we like. No, you don't have to like somebody in order to work with them. It's about mission. And we're so awesome that once we learn how to flip that switch and how to become mission focused, we are dangerous. We get it done in such a way that we infuse that emotional intelligence into it, and we do mission, and the people are still there, and we have no casualties. Men have casualties. So, but we have that edge on them, but oftentimes we're so busy competing with each other that we don't understand our power. And once you meet a woman who has her power, here's what I say, you can either influence or infect your atmosphere. You can influence or infect your atmosphere. I choose to influence. When you influence, that means you can see fluently into people and help meet their needs. Yes. And when you do that, you become awesome. And people will follow you even if you don't require it. And you are then a leader.
I love it. Dr. Gail, there was a panelist who was on last week, and she said something like what you're saying right now. Let me quote her. She says, it's lonely at the top when you have sawed off the top 3 rungs below you. I made note of that. We have way too much of that going on. You mentioned that we have to be mission focused. How do you relate to a person who's going to a meeting? You're going to the same meeting. You don't necessarily like that person. Do you decide to attend that meeting, or do you decide to bow out gracefully? That's one of the subjects that came up last week. I just want to get your take on that. Do you go inside that meeting and operate in your own confidence, or you just bow out and say, that's okay, I won't go in?
I've been in that situation several times where I didn't like, no, most of the time that person didn't like me, and I knew that. But let me tell you what I have, and women have this, but we don't use it as often as it's that insight, that emotional intelligence that Jeanette mentioned, is that we can see inside of people. And so many times we see a need of another person and we refuse to meet it. I'm not doing that for her. Let me tell you what I do. I push into people because I'm like Neosporin. You know, if there's any infection, it's got to come out in my presence, because I'm tired of infected people. So what happens is, when I've gotten in a meeting or gone to a meeting with people I know don't like me, as a matter of fact, I went to one yesterday morning. By the time I finished, everybody was smiling because I saw their need and I met their need. They don't feel valuable. So I made sure I exhorted and encouraged that woman, and I acknowledged her gift in front of the meeting. She was taken aback. And before she left, she says, Gail, it was really good to see you again. Because, see, she wasn't getting that, Jeanette, shall I say it, the nourishment. She wasn't nourished. Usually when you have people like that, they're malnourished. So if you have your water with you, or you have your vitamins with you, you cannot run out. Just share it. So I love it when people don't like me, because, I tell people, if my light is too bright, you have 2 options. You can either put on your sunglasses or leave the room.
I love it. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. Okay, I'm about to get real loose here. I love it.
Okay.
Jeanette, Let us talk to us about leadership versus boss, because you're going to come from it from a nourishment point of view also.
Yes. I think of it from that perspective. Actually, let's follow the sunshine and the glasses perspective. You know, a leader is somebody who shines the way, who shows the way, who inspires, who is there to, again, also as DrGail says, be part of the team, be the team leader, the one that goes with the team. We work together on this. And that we can't do that again unless we see us as being what holds it together. And so as a leader, we hold it together, but we're not telling people what to do. We're allowing them to unfold and figure out their way. My dad always used to say that a good leader doesn't tell people what to do or why they're late doing what they needed to complete. He asks, or she asks, what do you need so that you can do your job? What do you need so that you can finish this on time? What do you need? And so it's this idea that a leader is the one that's asked, how are you? What do you need to be better?
Yeah.
Versus the boss that says, why aren't you doing that? Why is this not getting done? And it really comes back to the boss having their own securities, wearing that on the sleeve.
Energy.
Where the nourished leader is the one that's walking with their heart strong and the body and the clear mind and the fresh, open, shining perspective, and shares the light.
Wow.
Right? And that's what this idea of, if we can take care of ourselves as leaders, then we're the ones that are balanced and we're more effective and efficient as leaders, not only of ourselves, but also of each other.
I have a quick question for both of you ladies. As I listen to you, I'm getting a better understanding of nourishment, and the whole conversation between you two ladies, you are on the same wavelength concerning nourishment. We are in a push, pull society. I come from corporate America, 26 years of corporate. You get so stressed out. You get so over the top on many levels. How do we make sure that women understand you have to take care of yourself? You owe that to yourself. You owe that to your family. You owe that to society. You owe that to your business. You owe that to the company. How do we really bring that around home to more women?
I want to say this. You have to know what that means. How do you take care of yourself? What does that mean? I used to wonder, what does that mean? Because most of us think it's getting your nails done, washing your hair, taking your shower. You know, we always attribute it to something physical. Mm-hmm. And then we stop. That's the problem right there, is that most of us don't use the nourishment. I'm going to go back to Jeanette because I like that term, Jeanette. We don't know how to nourish ourselves. We're very good at nourishing other people. We're not good at saying no. And you know what? We keep saying yes, and we got our nails done and our hair done, and we drop dead. And people use us up. You have to be selfless. It's kind of like, you know what it's like? It's like when you go on the airplane and they tell you about the air mask. Mm-hmm. You must put yours on first before you do it for someone else. The airlines have it right. Because if you don't, you're going to drop dead before, and the person next to you, your baby will die because you drop dead because you don't have any air and that you were not able to help them. So how can you fully really help someone else unless you fully love yourself? One of the best gifts that I have received during this season of my life is to love this woman named Gail. I'm learning what that means. In other words, I'm at a place in my life where I don't care what people think of me, and it's so freeing. If I say no, I mean it. And if I say yes, I mean it. That's a big thing right there. And no guilt. There's no guilt, because I know what I can and cannot do. You have to know your limits. That's one thing. And because I will tell you, I've seen too many women get sick, physically ill.
DrGail, I don't know whether or not we looks like maybe her signal is frozen. Jeanette, you want?
And part of that is you have to take care of yourself emotionally. I think that's what Jeanette's whole thing is. We think it's physical, but it's not that. And even your relationships. Who do you connect to? And what do they do? You need to watch what they do, because they can infect or influence you.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. Self-care is about internal, which will immediately shine on the external.
Jeanette, chime in. I mean, Dr. Gail brought it on around.
I want to ask if we change just one word in your question, and don't talk about we owe it to ourselves, but what if we deserve it? If we deserve all of those
I like deserve.
all of a sudden it all changes, right? We deserve that we thrive at work.
I agree.
We deserve that we can take care of our family and still take care of ourselves too. But the question is then how, not if. Because we tend to think, okay, I come last, or if I have time and all that stuff. And instead, if we can push the bucket upside down and start looking at our self-care, our nourishment, our relationship, all of that as the foundation for how we get all these other things, then we look at this as, okay, well, this is the essentials. These are the basics. It's not something I do after work. It's something that I do at work so that I can work better, so that I have more both energy and emotional capacity and peace of mind to do all of these things. And yes, I think the idea is that we deserve to have a flourishing career. The way to have a flourishing career is by not burning out.
Yes.
And
yes.
we deserve to have a thriving home life at the same time as a career. So how can we get it? And I think if we start asking the how question, the unconscious mind is going to start helping us find the answers.
You know what I do? I have affirmations, and I use the word deserve all the time. And you are correct in that. It's, for me, it's all about your languaging. Languaging is critical, especially when you are changing your mindset, because people get stuck in the same languaging all the time. And they never change, and they say, oh, I knew this was going to happen. Well, yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy. I do affirmations. I'm a wordsmith, so I do a lot of affirmations. So you are correct, Jeanette, in saying that deserve is a better word, because deserve just means to serve yourself. And we have to learn, and it looks different, and it is subjective now. It looks different for every person. But people have a problem, especially women, have challenges finding out what they really want and being clear about it. And so I help women get clear, because it is very difficult to get clear. But once you do, the rest is miracles. The miracles happen. Once you get clear, you'll know exactly. But opportunity comes before you and it looks really good, great money. I've turned those away because I knew they weren't mine. Because I'm clear about what I want and what I need. I'm very clear. And you know what I do then? Create legacy. I refer someone else.
Yes.
And it's even a woman who I know does not like me, I'll refer because of her skill set. And they come back to me, you know, I was a B to you. I said, yeah, you were. But they honor me. So my enemies watch my back better than my friends, because if I find something that's in their toolkit and somebody comes, I said, you need to ask her. She's a beast at that. Go give it to her. They're like, Dr. Gail Hayes referred you. And they know they were nasty to me. They know, but you know what? I don't own that. They do.
Yes.
That's one thing. I don't own their behavior. They do.
Wow. We deserve.
Yes.
We deserve. Not how. We deserve.
And it's not if we do, it's how.
How we
and I
do
think
it.
it's an important shift as well. As Dr. Gail's also saying, those small words really matter. It's how we talk to ourselves. We listen to it all day long.
Yes.
And our unconscious inner self is listening. So we better.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Watch what you say, because you're listening.
Yes.
And I have found that every part of your being is listening. It's taking note. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We have had a shift in how we look at ourselves, how we speak to ourselves. Now, my final question is to be an excellent leader. Out of the many qualities that we must possess, what is one quality that a woman absolutely, positively must have?
Resilience.
Huh? Resilience.
Resilience.
And I will say, use her listening skills. I think too often as women, we think that we have to know the answer rather than using the actual really strong force that we have, and that is our ability to listen, which is how we find solutions.
I love it. You know,
and not getting caught up if you don't have the answer.
Yeah.
That's another part of self-care. We feel less than we feel devalued if we don't have the answers. When in fact, sometimes you need to shut up. I mean, seriously, and not fix everything. That's part of self-care.
And also, a good leader is the one that knows who can find the answer, not necessarily the one.
Absolutely. Speak, sister, speak.
I love what I am listening to. We are coming down to the last few minutes. I don't want to let you ladies go. Real quick, Dr. Gail, will you just give us a quick little nugget on collaboration and connection? You've been alluding to that and actually giving us nuggets all along the way. Will you just talk a little bit about connecting and being a collaborator in this 2017?
I really, what I'd rather do is tell you, before you collaborate and connect, here's something that you need to know. That every woman is called to lead somebody somewhere to do something great. And that includes you. Every woman is called to lead somebody somewhere to do something great. And if you get that, you will have no problems connecting with other people, because you walk in the big C, confidence. And once you have confidence, you can collaborate and connect with power.
Wow. As Benny Randall Jr., the motivator, says, boom, there it is. There it is. Jeanette Bronée, please give us one more nugget as far as nourishment goes. As far as a young entrepreneur, somebody who's just beginning their business, you've told us about self-care. We have shifted our language. One final nugget before we wrap things up.
Yes. Stop believing that all the answers are out there. They're in here. We already have them. The problem is, how do we get access to them? Okay. And that's the thing, is learning how to get access to all the things we already know and all the wisdom we already have, so that we know what to ask and what to listen for out around us. But when we neglect ourselves, it's also about thinking that we're wrong rather than looking for where we're strong. And that's
Jeanette,
the awareness that I want people to have.
can I ask you one thing?
Sure.
How did you come to become this expert in nourishment? Just real quick. How did you get where you are?
I was lost. And I searched for myself. And so in the process of looking for myself, starting at around 25 years old, 26 years old, when I first came to this country, I started studying, I started learning, I started following teachers, I started studying Buddhism, quantum healing, all of these things. And I started studying nutrition as well. And along the way, I got stuck in busy life as a factory executive, and I realized it's not working. And then both of my parents all of a sudden died 1 year apart. And I said, you know what? It's time for change. That was a wake-up call. And I was like, I need to take care of myself better, and I need to help others do it too.
Got you. Fascinating time. It's been a fascinating conversation. Can't wait to listen to you ladies present on the October 20th, 21st, where WomELLE is hosting the Power of Women's Leadership virtual conference. Tickets are available on the WomELLE Facebook page. Go over there. This is just the tip of the iceberg. 30 speakers, live Q&A, an opportunity for everyone to network. Great conversation today, ladies. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I tell everybody, if they don't get a ticket to this awesome conference, they are leaving their passport at home. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. Next Wednesday, we'll bring more members from the WomELLE cast, because we are introducing these ladies to you. We want to have access to some of the cast members, the great speakers, thought leaders who will be with you on October 20th and 21st. I am your moderator, Margo, Lovett. I'll say bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies.